and they said, you need to eat something like a bit more healthy. Now, there are a few words that I don't allow when somebody comes into my house, and healthy is one of them.
I've decided that I'm just going to start gaslighting people and telling them that I'm actually skinny. I'm not fat. What, you think I'm fat? What? No, I'm actually skinny. Are you sure you're not fat? Because me, skinny.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate you. So, I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time. I meant to put it out in December, so it could be like happy Tess Holidays. But that did not happen. So we are going to be doing it today. And what video is that, you may be asking? That video is a comprehensive list. Actually, I don't really know if it's comprehensive. I'm covering like 4 main scandals of Tess Holliday and why I had to break up with her as a idol of mine, basically. As most of you probably know from my video, My 315 Pound Life and Why the Fat Acceptance Movement Kinda Sucks, Tess Holliday was a figure in me entering into that movement. And the movement that I thought was actually body positivity, but then wound up being fat acceptance. And on my channel, I've talked about many times about why I think those are two very different things, but why I think the fat acceptance movement has kind of co-opted the body positivity movement. Now, Kiana, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Like, I genuinely don't know how to pronounce her last name. Kiana, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. She has an amazing video on Tess already, and I am not here trying to copy that video or whatever. This video is not going to be nearly the production value or quality that Kiana's was, but I was actually featured in that video, so if you have not seen it, go watch it because it's phenomenal. I just think I'd like to add to this conversation a little bit because Tess has been a very interesting figure in my life, to the point where like she was a genuine role model of mine for a really long time. Like, I distinctly remember finding her at the time. I think her name was Tess Munster, and I found her on Tumblr, I believe, and then I remember like showing her to my mom and being like, look at this. What we were at Applebee's, and I was like, look at this woman, look how beautiful she is, she looks like me, like this is very exciting. And I think that's why Tess had the pull that she did for a really long time. I think it's fading because even people in the fat acceptance movement kind of call her out now, but I think at the time nobody had seen a fat woman represented so well in media, like, because she was everywhere for a really long time, like in the early 2010s. I think she was just a breath of fresh air for people, and I think that's why she had the pull that she did at the time, and I honestly think that's why she has the influence that she does now still. But I am like a firm believer that Tess kind of like latches on to different things in order to gain a follow. And we're gonna cover that in this video a little bit, but I have a video on that in regards to her eating disorder that she came out saying that she's dealing with right now, and all that. I made a video on that like a year ago, I think, and I'll link that up in the cards or down below or whatever. But I just think, personally, it's my opinion that she kind of like latches on to different groups who need an idol in order to gain a following. That's my opinion, whatever. But yeah, she has been a very interesting figure in my life, and I've always wanted to make kind of like a comprehensive video on the reasons why I've had to break up with her. I mean, obviously, I lost 100 pounds through weight loss surgery 5 years ago. And through that, I had to kind of come to terms with some of the problematic actions of my faves and decide whether or not I wanted to break up with them. I know I am just a drop in the water to them, or drop in the bucket to them. I don't care. It was still, I feel like, especially in the fat community, when you're first getting into it, I feel like the parasocial relationships are so real, and I just don't want to see, I would hate to see more people fooled by Tess, and not know the full story. So that's why I'm making this video. So let's just get into it, shall we? So who is Tess Holliday? Tess Holliday, or Ryan Megan Hoven. I don't know how to. Born in Laurel, Mississippi. And like I said, she went by the stage name Tess Munster. And that's when I first found her. But she then took on the name Tess Holliday after marrying her now ex-husband, Nick Holliday. I do want to note that based on her recollections and what I have researched and found out, that Tess did not seem to have the best childhood growing up. And that is never something that I'm ever going to take away from somebody, and I'm never going to discount their experiences with. Tess claims that at the age of 15 she was a size 16 and around 5'3", and she went to a model casting in Atlanta, Georgia, for plus size models, where they told her that she would be, quote, lucky to do print advertisements or catalog because she was too short and too big. In 2011, Tess was accepted into the Torrid, which, if you don't know, is a very popular plus size clothing retailer, the Torrid House of Dreams model search. And around the same time, she was chosen to be on the promotional poster for an A&E series called Heavy, which, as an aside to this, I did not know this. This was new information to me. I thought this was really interesting because she now claims like she doesn't like the idea of weight loss. She finds the topic of weight loss really triggering. I think it's really interesting that like one of her first breakout modeling jobs was for a show about super morbidly obese people losing weight. I get everybody has to start somewhere, but I just think it's really interesting. Anyways, fast forward to 2015, and Tess was signed by the major London-based modeling agency, Milk Models, as their first curve model. Well, she was the first curve model to be above a size 20. So I don't know if she was their first curve model at all, but definitely their first one over the size 20. And I would say, and Tess has said, that that is when her career really took off. In May 2015, Tess was featured on the cover of People magazine, and the rest was kind of history after that. So now that you know all of that, let's just get into the controversies, shall we? So the F Your Beauty Standards t-shirts thing was like one of the first controversies that I remember hearing about Tess, or in regards to Tess. I found Tess right around the time where she was very much pushing the F Your Beauty Standards thing. F Your Beauty Standards was meant to spread the message saying exactly what you think it means, just pushing against societal body standards, beauty standards, all of that kind of stuff, which I will never, ever, ever discount, because I think body trends are dumb. I think beauty standards are weird and just make life more difficult for everybody involved. She was very much trying to spread the message that traditional beauty standards are harmful and don't make you any less worthy of self-love or worthy of expressing yourself or feeling beautiful or any of that. And the phrase quickly became kind of words to live by in the body positivity, soon to be fat acceptance movement. Now, back in November of 2014, Tess held a pre-sale for shirts that said F Your Beauty Standards on them. The shirts were marketed as going to have part of the proceeds go towards the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, because both her and her mother had experienced domestic violence, which again, I'm not even going to take that into question. I believe survivors. But the t-shirts were being sold for $40, which she did face some backlash at, because at the time that was a lot of money for merch, which made me kind of LOL at the price of merch these days, but she did face some backlash for that. And to that she responded, quote, "I don't run a sweatshop, therefore the cost is higher than someone else. I'm a small business doing it all myself and donating part of the profits. My price fits the product and quality," which, as a maker myself, I think is a valid stance. Given the price, many fans bought the shirts and justified the price of the shirts because part of it was going to be going to charity. Now, after the sale happened, a Reddit thread came out, which I think has been just lost to the internet, but I was able to find a bunch of screenshots from like a Facebook group, I think, about the whole situation, which basically said the same thing as the Reddit thread did. All my sources for this video will be linked down below. It was claiming that hundreds of customers never received their product and that the promised money had not been donated to charity. After everything kind of came to a head, Tess made a statement to Refinery 29, which this Refinery 29 article has been called out for being very biased in itself. But she said one of the biggest problems was that our software was showing payment not received when people had paid for it. Tess said that another problem was her team's like inexperience with dealing with such a large scale operation. I think about 3,000 shirts were sold. After that, people were saying that she was blocking them on social media for asking about the t-shirts, asking about refunds, that kind of stuff. To which she said that people were saying I blocked them for complaining about not getting a shirt, but I was blocking people who were also telling me I should die, that I should take my own life, and that I was scum. Which, like, that's a valid reason to block somebody. I can kind of get behind that. Actually, I very much so get behind that. And Holliday did apologize in an official statement again to Refinery 29. It says, "I'm sorry that I have disappointed some of you, and I've learned a lot through this experience. This has been a difficult year, but I can say with 100% certainty that my team and I are on solid footing and appreciate everyone's understanding and continued support. I will continue to spread the message of self-love." Okay, that, in my opinion, that did not really address any of the problems or give solutions to any of the problems, but that's just my opinion. As for the donations, Tess said that the reason that the donations were not made is because the whole thing was operating at a loss. But in the end, the charity that she was going to donate to did receive a donation of $1,000 made by Tess, which is well and good. Like, that is money that foundation needs and uses. But like I said, 3,000 shirts were made. 3,000. And that would equal, and at $40 a piece, that would equal about $120,000 of revenue. Granted, that's not profit. You have to take out expenses, payments for employees, that kind of stuff. That's not profit. But I would imagine that that would not make a huge dent of $120,000 based on my knowledge of t-shirt costs and material costs and that kind of stuff, which I have made t-shirts in the past. So I have a 2022 knowledge, 2023 knowledge of roughly what it costs to make a t-shirt. And I do think it's interesting that she made it such a point to be like, I don't run a sweatshop, which now she actually, I don't know if Your Beauty Standards actually still exists, but at the time of the articles that I was using for research, it did still exist, and it was operating as a drop shipping company. So yeah. But anyways, I think the $1,000 donation was great, but given the revenue estimated that she made, just by what I know of the amount that was sold versus the amount that they were sold for, donating less than 1% seems a little suspicious to me. And people in the Reddit thread were calling her out for like going to Disneyland around that time, frolicking around, doing fun things, not acknowledging the situation. So, yeah. I honestly don't believe that Tess set out to defraud people with this. But at the very least, it is my opinion that the donations and refund situations were not handled well at all. I myself have done, on a smaller scale, but I myself have done like drives where I make things, sell them, and then donate the proceeds to a charity. And it's really not that hard. You just take the money that you made. And in the ones I did, I was donating 100%. So I took the money that I got from each sale, put it in a separate account in my bank account. Then when it was time to make the lump donation, I moved it to my checking. And then I donated it. And that's how you can do things. So, yeah. Anyways, on to the next controversy. So this is one that I feel like has gotten kind of like buried down into the internet, but I actually found out about it through a Michelle McDaniel video. And so the story goes like this. Jenny Molina was a big fan of Tess Holliday, so much so that she had paid over $700 to do a photo shoot with Tess Holliday, styled by Tess Holliday, and all of that. And I believe that photo shoot was in 2015. So now fast forward to 2018, Jenny posted a before and after picture with the caption saying, "I am amazed at my own progress, my capabilities, and my strength. I am unapologetically in love with my fight and my hustle. When I see this kind of progress, I could cry because I remember all the tough days, emotional roller coasters, and at Morphe Life sessions I struggled through to get here. My body and my progress tell a story. To be continued." So like a super normal before and after situation. However, Miss Tess did not like this and unfollowed Jenny after posting it. And the unfollow becomes more of an issue in a minute. I usually don't take much, I don't usually put much stake in people unfollowing people on social media. It can happen for a multitude of reasons, but it becomes an issue in a second. So after Tess unfollowed Jenny posted this on social media saying, "Low blow. The beautiful and inspiring Tess Holliday unfollowed me today because I lost weight and said my before and after photos were triggering. She was really sweet about it, by the way, but I was taken aback and even a little hurt. How can you claim to be #body positive, then only be seemingly supportive of fat bodies?" And I thought this was fascinating given the hindsight and given where we are now with the fat acceptance movement and the body positivity movement. I thought this was absolutely fascinating. Or am I taking this the wrong way? I posted the conversation on my IG story. I really look up to her and the F Your Beauty Standards movement and always want to promote the message of loving your body no matter what. Do you think sharing before and after photos goes against the body positive movement? Open to feedback. So the only place I could find screenshots from this story was from Perez Hilton, which he is arguably worse than anybody I've ever covered on this channel. But that's the only place I could find these screenshots. So yeah, I apologize for that sourcing. So the first screenshot says, "Remember the shoot I did with the beautiful Tess Holliday in 2015? She's always been someone I've looked up to and still do. She is a pioneer and a true inspiration to women everywhere. So today made me a little sad, and maybe I am taking it personal, but more so because I want to always be a voice that promotes being #body positive. But one of my biggest #body positive inspirations served me some truth today." She said, "But then today, Tess Holliday shared her truth with me, and I don't know how to feel about it. She unfollowed me because she said my before and after posts were triggering and weren't body positive. I never want to come across as though I'm not a body positive supporter and send the wrong message." So the screenshots go like this. Jenny messaged Tess saying, "Sad you unfollowed me, but love you anyway. You've been a huge inspiration in teaching me to love myself no matter what." Tess then responds saying, "Your weight loss posts are too triggering for me. I'm sure you understand it's not personal." Jenny says, "I'm sorry, I definitely understand. My captions are often about loving yourself no matter what. I was happy being a big girl prior because I was healthy. It wasn't until my doctor told me I had pre-diabetes and high cholesterol that I decided to lose weight. Love you, girl. You're amazing, and I will always promote loving yourself at any size because that's the most important message we can all share." So then Tess says, "Your captions aren't though. You might think they are, but they aren't. You do what makes you happy. That's all that matters. I saw you and followed me as well." Like, obviously. Anyways, Jenny says, "I'll be more mindful about that. I'm trying to promote the new me, or I'm not trying to promote that the new me is better than the old me either, but I can see that. My follow/unfollow app is set to unfollow anyone who unfollows. Really appreciate you. Sorry to disappoint. Truly sad about this because I really identify with you then and now. Tess says, before and after photos themselves aren't really body positive because it's like you're saying that there was something wrong with you and comparing. It's tough, and I'm not here to judge you or make you feel bad. It's your journey and keep doing what makes you happy, but it always made me feel badly, and I'm not in a mental space to take that in right now. I'm sorry if it hurt your feelings, which saying I'm sorry if it hurt your feelings is not an apology. I don't know who needs to hear that, but that's not an apology. And then Jenny says, I want to inspire people who want to lose weight and feel stuck, but also love themselves no matter what. It's a fine line. I need to figure out and do the body positive movement justice because I don't want to be a hypocrite either. After all of that, Jenny moved on and basically just like posted about how she loves her body then and now, and that doing what's best for it is ultimately the most positive thing that you can do. And in the end, I'm honestly just really happy that Jenny was able to find that peace, because she deserves it. But I just think this is really interesting because this happened 5 years ago, and nothing has changed. Like, if anything, it's gotten worse. We all know that the body positivity, fat acceptance movement hates before and after pictures, and which I'm actually thinking about making a video on that, so let me know if you want that. They always say that they're fat phobic and triggering and whatever, which, to be fair, I can understand how before and after photos could be triggering to someone battling an ED, which if Tess has been for as long as she for this whole time, then sure, I get it. I do think Tess was pretty civil, but I do think that this whole situation is very interesting because I think it shows the shift from what people thought the early days of body positivity, at least in the early 2010s when social media was rising. I think it shows the shift into how the fat acceptance movement kind of took over and was like, no, we only love fat bodies here. We don't love people who lose weight. We don't appreciate people who lose weight. You shouldn't be proud of your weight loss. We don't care. I think it's interesting because it shows that shift really well. Anyways, I could go on about this conversation. This could be a whole video, this one controversy, but I'm going to move on to the next one. So the Cosmo cover. I'm not going to lie to you, seeing Tess on the cover of Cosmo was actually a very cool moment for me. I remember always looking at Cosmo on the shelves, particularly in my pubescent years, never seeing anyone that even remotely looked like me. And I think subconsciously I kind of put those two things together with the overtly sexual content that Cosmo pushes, and also the lack of representation of body types on their covers at the time. I think I kind of subconsciously put those two things together and was like, oh, nobody's gonna want to have sex with me or find me attractive. I know that's irrational now, but at the time when I was so young and seeing all of these things, that's kind of what my brain did. And remembering that while I was researching this was a very jarring realization. I'm going to talk about it in therapy. So on a surface level, seeing Tess on the cover of Cosmo was very cool, because I will say till I'm blue in the face that I think representation of all different body types, all different walks of life in media is important. I think it's very important. I think it's a good thing. I do not think that fat people just existing in media or online is inherently glorifying obesity. I do not think that. I never have, and I never will. And Cosmo got a lot of flack for having Tess on the cover. Like I said, mainly for glorifying obesity, or accusing them of glorifying obesity, which, as I already said, I do not think on a surface level having Tess on the cover was glorifying obesity. And like Kiana said in her Tess video, because I went and watched parts of that back just to refresh my brain of where I wanted to take my video, it's really interesting that the health of Tess was called into question, but the health of the super thin models that have been on every magazine cover ever has never been called into question until recently. So I think it's just really interesting that immediately it was glorifying unhealthiness by putting her on the cover, when people who are dangerously thin have been featured on magazine covers since the beginning of time. But where I saw the issue with this whole thing in hindsight, because I was still kind of like teetering on like my thoughts surrounding fat acceptance, body positivity, all that kind of stuff around this time. But in hindsight, where I find the issue with this cover is how it was marketed. Now, the title of the article in the magazine about Tess, because usually cover people have an article, like a centerfold article about them, was Strong, Fit, and 300 Pounds. And instead of focusing on Tess's health at every size, body positivity, self-love narrative, they decided to focus on her workout regimen and like her healthy lifestyle. The whole thing was like showing that fat people work out. And she used other media outlets and her own social media around the time to continue pushing this narrative. And I was like, sweet, let's have this conversation that not everybody who goes to the gym regularly looks like they go to the gym regularly. Like, that's okay. That's a good conversation to have, I think. But let's be honest, as someone who was 315 pounds, I really do not think that you can be strong, fit, and 300 pounds. When I was at my heaviest, and I was young, I was like 20, 21-ish. When I was at my heaviest, I was getting shin splints walking across my college campus. I would be out of breath walking across my college campus, which was not a big college campus. I was pre-diabetic. My liver was not working the way it should. I was not strong. I was not healthy and I was not fit. And my body was not having a good time at 315 pounds. So just like from my own experiences, I have a hard time believing that Tess was strong, fit, and whatever at 300 pounds. And this was also suspicious to me because at the time that this came out was the time I believe she became a Fabletics partner. Partnered with Massey Arias, and Massey Arias was also a Fabletics partner. I used to work at a Fabletics store, so I know more about Fabletics than I really ever wanted to. At the time that this cover came out, Tess was announced her Fabletics partnership with Massey Arias. They did a lot of different media things with people and stuff, talking about how Tess is fat and she works out and blah, 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 which, again, a good thing to talk about. But some of the things that Tess was doing, I think could be deemed dangerous for someone of her size to be doing, which is also not a good thing to be spreading. Coinciding with this cover release, Tess was on her Instagram posting cute pictures in her Fabletics gear and talking about all the good deals that Fabletics had at the time. Really anything that had to do with going to the gym and whatever was partnered with a Fabletics advertisement, and it started around the same time, if I recall correctly, as the Cosmo article claiming that she was strong, fit, and 300 pounds. Now, in my investigation of this video, I went back and looked at Tess's Instagram to see if she was posting this kind of content with the absolute just fucking fervor. Is that the right word? I don't know. With the just I just wanted to see if she was posting this kind of content as regularly as she was around the time, and she's not. She has not posted that kind of content. She still does, but once a month. And if you know anything about Fabletics, it is a monthly subscription where you can shop or skip, and you have from the 1st through the 5th of the month to shop or skip. And I did not coincide dates, or I did not cross-reference dates, but she does not post about these things as much as she used to around the time of the Cosmo article, which I think it is interesting because I think this was one big money grab. Was it a cool direction for society? Yes. But do I think it was a money grab on Tess's end? Also yes. Which, get your bag. But it just seems disingenuous when you put two and two together. I just think that once again, Tess was pushing a certain narrative to gain more followers and to make money. And lying. So controversy number 4 is the touchiest of them all, and I don't really want to go too much into it because I already have a whole video on that. And I also admittedly do not have any experience dealing with this particular illness. So like a year ago, Tess came out saying that she has been battling this, I'm going to put it here. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to get suppressed by the algorithm. This. And naturally, it caused quite the stir around the internet. And as I said in my original video, it's none of my business whether or not Tess has this. That's between her and her doctors and her therapists and whoever else. But I am of the belief that regardless of if Tess has it, she's been lying to her audience this whole time. Because either she has been or appearing to be living her best life, being unapologetically fat, like she always says, like just demonizing weight loss, all this kind of stuff, and dealing with this mental illness, which is one of the most fatal mental illnesses in existence, by the way. So this is nothing to fuck around with. Either she's been claiming to live her best life, etc., while dealing with this, so she was not living her best life this whole time. She was struggling, which is sad. Or she's lying about having one of the most fatal mental illnesses in existence. Like, either way, one of them has to be a lie to get a following. And that's fucked up in this context. So Tess said that the type of Anna that she is dealing with is the atypical type. But based on my research and conversations with people who have had this kind of Anna, you're still terrified of gaining weight, and showing pictures of your body the way that she does online, it like inherently goes against the symptoms of this illness. Also, with like posting about her workout regimens and like I said, posting pictures of her body the way that she does and the way that she always has, posting herself eating food, like a lot of food, like eating a whole cake on social media, that kind of stuff. Anybody I've talked to who has experience with this has said that just goes against any kind of symptom of this kind of illness. I actually got some very good comments on my last video about Tess from people who have experienced this themselves, and I wanted to use their words here. I'm not going to put their names or anything because that's not my story to tell with their names attached to it, but I just wanted to include these comments here. The first one says, as a recovering Anna, no person recovering from Anna, atypical or not, loses weight in the process. I'm confused why she has lost weight recovering from a restrictive eating disorder. She makes a mockery of anyone that has experienced this disorder regardless of their size. Thanks for your video. Then another person says, as someone who's recovered from this, eating food publicly, showing your not thin body publicly, and everything else fat acceptance she has done would be impossible. Being her size and people seeing it would be worse than dying. I remember thinking if I weighed more than blank, I would rather unalive myself than live being that weight, and it wasn't even close to being overweight. I'm calling BS. She doesn't have this. Also, I love you. Keep up the good stuff. Thank you for that comment, and thank you for the kindness. Everybody who commented on that video sharing their experiences. Thank you. You all are strong ass humans, and I admire you so much. Then this next person says, I've been recovered from this for 3 years. I had typical restrictive Anna for 10 years, diagnosed at 12. Oh my God. Weight loss is a symptom of anorexia, which is a mental illness. The obsessive thoughts and feelings that come with Anna lead to behaviors that lead to weight loss. If she hasn't lost weight or displayed any sign of fear of weight gain, then I really don't see how she could possibly have anorexia. Even atypical anorexia involves fear of weight gain, and there are anorexics who binge, but binges are usually relatively small in comparison to what anyone else would consider a binge. I just think it's disgusting to weaponize something so serious. It annoys me to no end when people romanticize Anna, but to lie about it so publicly is disgraceful. And like I said, I know this is an extremely touchy subject, and I don't feel like I have the qualifications to say one way or the other, and it's honestly none of my business, but I just maintain the opinion that either way, if she has this or not, that she has been lying to her audience to gain followers and make money. I'm also just saying that I think with Tess's past, I genuinely believe that she uses her like girl boss mentality as well as like tapping into different communities to find the vulnerable people there to latch onto, to make money, to gain a following, etc., etc. And that's all I have to say on this in this little bit of this video. But if you want more of my thoughts and opinions and experiences, definitely go watch that other video that I made a year ago. So that's it, guys. Whew. Wowza. This was a lot of research. A lot of trips down memory lane for me, and it was just overall a doozy. And I think TLDR, Tess Holliday is a shady character at best, and you should really be skeptical of any of your idols online, because all social media is a highlight reel. But I just think some deserve more skepticism than others. I think she started off with good intentions. Like, I genuinely do. I think around the time I found her, I do think she started off with good intentions. But I think potentially she saw the potential that social media had to be a money-making mechanism and kind of started taking advantage of it. And yeah. And like I said, from my time digging around fat acceptance TikTok, I do think that she has even become a divisive figure there, which says something. But either way, I just wanted to make this cautionary video of who Tess Holliday is and why I, in my own experiences and life, had to break up with her as a favorite. Regardless of if I lost weight or not, I think I would have come to this conclusion anyways. As someone who got sucked into her spell, and as someone whose health took a turn for the worst kind of in conjunction with it, I just have one thing to say, and that is to find better idols, please. Anyways, that's it for this one. It's been a doozy. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it lived up to your expectations with me talking about it for months. Sound off in the comments what you think about this video. If you made it this far, please leave a sparkle heart emoji, because it is Valentine's Day coming up, and I'm in pink and festive today. Yes, thank you all so much for watching. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, drink your water, take your meds, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.